I understand where a lot of you guys come from, where you feel like the Dallas Cowboys get a disproportionate amount of the energy on these television shows and these podcasts and everything else. And you feel like no matter what the Cowboys do, they wind up being the thing that you talk about, and they do this even though they ain't won nothing and da-da-da. And I don't want to pretend as though I don't think that those are fundamentally like legitimate points, because I do think that's what they are, and I do understand where like a lot of you are coming from on that front. But I will say this. When the Cowboys get their asses kicked, and we want to come out here and talk about how they got their asses kicked, I find that there are a lot fewer complaints, Sean. A lot fewer complaints. I find that when it's time to talk about the Cowboys getting their asses whooped, people actually show up a little bit early.
Yeah, our chat room is buzzing today. There's a lot of people who have said, I came here on time for the first time in a while, and it's probably because the thumbnail said Cowboys are in trouble.
Hey, no. Like, it's kind of like when I used to work in North Carolina, or just overall, we're talking about Duke, man. Nothing pleases the people quite like Duke getting that ass whooped. Like, you know, and there's a lot of people that like them, but there's a lot of people on the other side because they kind of went out on a plurality. So then that means on the other side, boy, they get their ass whooped. Everybody want to talk about it. Now, I watched a good bit of that Cowboys game, and I don't know if this actually came to fruition, Sean. I'm going to look up exactly what time I said this during the game. It was in the second half, so it wasn't the most daring statement in the world, but I do believe that at the time of, here we go, at 6:13, so this is like, you know, a long way to go in the game, I was like, the Ravens shouldn't throw the ball again. And they did have to throw it again because nobody loves to blow a lead like the Ravens. They had to throw to convert some first downs. But it had reached that point where it was time to go ahead and run the bone. And everybody was out here talking about how it is that the Cowboys should have signed Derrick Henry after the game. I saw a lot of discussion about that. Hey, Sean, it could have been Derrick Henry. It could have been Derek Chivas, who played for the Rockets in 1988. It could have been Patrick Henry, give me liberty, give me death. Any of them could have run for 800 yards behind that. Did you watch that game?
Yeah, that Cowboys defense looked pretty terrible. I mean, it looked like prime Derrick Henry. Like, I saw Mina tweet about how, like, it's crazy how Derrick Henry runs faster as the game goes on. It's like, no, I think the Cowboys defense just got weaker.
No. They was just moving them motherfuckers out of there, right? Like, that to me had absolutely nothing to do with this. And I'm a little shocked here because I'm looking up a stat that says that Derrick Henry had 131 yards after contact. And I'm like, contact with who? Contact with his own team? What are you talking about?
The handoff, does that count when the
right?
Is that contact?
Like I just saw furniture movement. It wasn't quite like it was with the Saints, where the Saints were just picking them dudes up and moving them around. And by the way, after this game the Eagles just had against the Saints, it becomes a much more of a like colossal indictment of the Cowboys because they just picked them guys up and moved them, and Derrick Henry was going. And then after that, like when the little dudes tried to tackle him, Derrick Henry, you know, he is the king of that off me, right? Ain't nobody gonna hit you with that off me. Get off me, like Derrick Henry. And there's like different levels of the off me. And like where Derrick Henry is at his best, or where I think the most impactful Derrick Henry off me is when it's in a place where there's like a little bit of short distance and you can just kind of hear it. It's more guttural and it's like, ooh, get off me, right? Off me. You got to get a little in there, right? He got to bend his knees just a little bit, like doing a push press. You know what I mean? A pop press. Like, off me. And then he tossed some dudes off him, man. Them Cowboys dudes are running on him. And he ain't have to do all that. It was just like, man, get off me. Just get off. He took that one dude. It just looked like he just basically just like slapped him in the face and slapped him down. Like it just seemed like he was like he was a fly. Like it really felt like that was all he was doing. And on one level, I kind of give them dudes credit for going in there and try to make it happen. On another level is, hey man, if you ain't gonna bring it all the way against Derrick Henry, can't you just slap yourself in the face?
Your own stiff arming, you know, stiff arming your teammates, something like that versus Derrick Henry doing it.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. Oh my God. Like I don't care what anybody says, right? The numbers all indicate the importance of the passing game. And I understand everybody who thinks the idea of establishing the run doesn't matter and they think that it's a silly and antiquated notion. However, I contend that most of the arguments toward passing in the ways that we talk about in this day and age, they are largely what I call spreadsheet arguments, right? The numbers bear them out to be true. Like, nobody is denying that what you're talking about in the aggregate is probably the case. And I imagine that it really, really, really stinks if a team just passes on you over and over and over again, and you can't do anything to stop it. I feel that. I really, really do. But I'm telling you right now, it is much different if you just keep hitting somebody with the same 10-yard out route over and over again than it is we're going to pick you up and move you, and then you're going to have to tackle Derrick Henry over and over again. It's not the same, man. It's not the same. You were just never going to get me to believe that there is not a basis to saying early and often we're going to beat the hell out of them, right? We're going to make this painful for you to do. I just can't understand how anybody could operate in a world where your premise is counter to the idea that hitting somebody in the mouth over and over again is a great way to start the day. You know what's not a great way to start the day? Getting hit in the mouth over and over and over again. It really sets the tone, and it felt a lot of ways like the Cowboys quit. And if you don't think it felt like the Cowboys quit, Sean, what we got? Like three quotes from different Cowboys? All right, let's start off with Dak Prescott. I think we should have did a bit of a building action. Let's go with Dak Prescott. What was he talking about after the game?
Yeah, for those who didn't hear, he said, jump off if you want. I guess referring to the bandwagon or just wagon in general.
Wow. It's game 3, Sean. It's game 3. And he's already talking about people on or off the team quitting. Okay, that's fine. We got Micah Parsons.
Man, the same thing. I think right now we got people just trying to be Superman. People just got to own their jobs, bro. We don't need everyone to be Superman. We don't need no Supermans at all. We just need 11 guys playing together. And right now, it's just not in unison.
How surprising was this?
I mean, when you're preaching something all week, everyone's in the locker room saying, we're going to do what we got to do, and everyone's going to be accountable. Then when you come out and we're just like, how are we getting gas? We're not being accountable. We're not set right. It's just like, the game don't come down to that third down. If we do what we're supposed to do, we win the game. It's just like, at what cost are we just going to keep doing this to ourselves?
Wow, boy, he sounds bummed out.
Derrick Henry knew what he did. It didn't make you rethink your approach to the run game.
We couldn't afford that.
Why not? you could. I mean,
I don't know. Why can't you buy a mansion when you live in a different kind of house? We couldn't afford it. We can't make that all fit. It's simple as that.
Sean, the Cowboys are 1-2 in a division where the division leader is 2-1, and we don't think they're good either. That's the Eagles. Everybody is sounding like this is over because that's what happens when you get moved around 2 straight weeks, right?
It's crazy because, yeah, like you said, like that NFC East division is pretty bad and has always been bad. And, you know, it's just classic Cowboys media starting it up again.
Yeah, but look at the way they're talking themselves, though. Like the way Micah Parsons actually did not accuse them of quitting. He actually made the argument that his cat's out there doing too much, though it is very clear his argument is you're doing too much because you're not that good, which I'm just telling you that is probably not a message that is going to resonate in the locker room in the ways that he would prefer. DeMarcus Lawrence got out there and basically said, like Dak said after the game about a need for professionalism, which seemed to be him talking about CeeDee Lamb, who seemed to be getting his wide receiver from the 1990s on, getting his pout on. There are people raising questions within that team about how hard everybody's going. And I'm like, dog, again, it's week 3. Bright side about that being week 3 is that you still got a chance to pick this thing up and put it together. But is whatever's happening with them and their inability to stop the teams from running, is that truly about scheme? Because the argument that had been made coming in before this is that one of the big things about the Cowboys is that Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Gary Kubiak scheme that a lot of teams seem to be running, that's the one that seems to beat them over the head and they can't stop anybody from running the ball. I do not look at Todd Monken as being one of those people. He does not descend from those trees, at least not as far as I can tell. And they went out there and they ran it down their throats just like anybody else had. I've seen the argument be made over and over again that just up the middle, they are a poor defense. Maybe that's what it is. But if you can't stop anybody from running the ball, all they going to do against y'all every week is run the ball. And that is going to be as demoralizing as anything possibly can be. And if there's anything the Cowboys have demonstrated that they are on top of this, yes, they made a bit of a furious comeback at the end. They brought it back to have a chance to win that. I'm asking this question sincerely. How many of y'all thought they had any chance to win that game after it was 14-3? Forget about 21. 14-3 in their own building. How many of you thought they actually had a chance to win? Did you think they had a chance to win, Sean? Because I did not.
No, if I was playing a body language doctor, I would immediately, after 14-3, be like, oh, it's over. It's a wrap. And it's probably, the 19 points in the fourth quarter is probably a factor of the Ravens being like, well, we already won this at halftime.
Well, something to that, right? But but it got close enough. The Ravens can't afford to be acting like that, just to be clear. We seen they movies, right?
They were just in the yellow zone,
Yes. Yeah, they're still there, buddy. They're still there. They almost lost to the Cowboys. Right, like they are still in Rutroville. They there staying at the Rutro Inn. That is where they happen to be. But no, I never thought at any point they were going to win that game. And so the thing about the Cowboys for me is that it is not Dak Prescott's fault that they fell behind in the way that they did. He is not the reason they lost that game. He is also not the reason they won that game. Right. And at some point, you want your quarterback who is as talented as he is, who gets it done in the ways that he gets it done, and honestly, who makes as much money as he does, to sometimes be the reason that you won this game that you wasn't supposed to win. Like, no, it's not your fault that you lost that game. I can say this about Lamar Jackson in a lot of these games. Like, hey, it's not your fault that you lost these games, but it's also you're not the reason that they won them games. And one would hope that in those types of games that you can be the reason that they won. Not just the one where you're the reason why they won because it all got going early and you just steadied the ship after that point. No, sometimes it's going to be tough over there and you got to be the one to figure out how to make this happen. The NFL is back, which means you could turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite teams only on Prize Picks. You can make a Prize Picks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. You just need to pick more or less on a couple of players' stats and projections, and you're locked in. So make sure you go to prizepicks.com/Bomani and use code Bomani for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/Bomani. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.